Alright, we're back. I took out the graphics card, the little 3.0 USB card. I unplugged the fan, I unplugged the hard drive, and got the SATA cables out of the way, the power supply cables out of the way. And now we're basically just stuck with the water block. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to undo these screws. And this screw is actually for the stock 120 millimeter fans. They're the exact same screw as that one right there. And they just fit perfect, same threading and everything. Pretty much a really good length for that also. And those are in the kit. So I'm going to put that one up to the side. And then we're going to take off the other three. And I'm going to show you what I had to do. I'm going to take off that one. Oh, sorry for the camera. I'm going to take off this. Well, let me show you. This corner right here, when I originally did it, like this one, was still in the way of the graphics card. So what I had to do was put, see this little bracket underneath there? I actually mounted a little bracket to this piece and then screwed it in right there to make room for the graphics card. And I used this little bracket is the AMD part from the kit. So maybe I'll just unscrew that one first, just to show you guys. And I think this was a screw that I just had sitting around in my stuff, and it was the right thread, so I used it. Take that out. And the last one is right here. And some people were concerned that the MOSFETs that are near the CPU weren't getting cooled, but there was actually a lot of air getting under that piece of plexiglass, and my camera is not wanting to focus, which is pissing me off. All right, we got that last one out. See how it kind of shifted. And what we're gonna do is just pick this up, show you the CPU, water block, and there's my plexiglass. All right, let me oops, I forgot to unplug the freaking, forgot to unplug the water pump. Water pump unplugged. And here's the water block deal. Let me set that aside and I'll show you what's going on here. See, on Dell's this little shroud thing. Push up here, start pulling on it. And then this one down here. There. You guys heard it. All right. Oh, you got that bracket loose. I used this stock shroud from the Dell and just kind of cut it up. You can see where I cut it. Cut here and cut there. And just kind of wedged everything into the old chassis so it would fit good on the... And one other thing. Oh, the air temperature sensor for the Dell. I relocated it up here. It's usually on this front grate over here. And I just routed it in. Plugged it back in. Make sure all the stock Dell sensors are put back in place or you're going to have issues. All right, we're just going to remove this whole thing. And I'll put it over here just to show you guys. So this is the stock Dell fan shroud, and I've cut it along here and just opened up the whole thing to allow room for the radiator. basically you're just gonna, you have to make room, so you have to chop that off no matter what. So I use the Intel bracket because it's at the corners, and that's how I wanted it to design it. But this little bracket underneath here, I used the AMD bracket and chopped a chunk off of it and mounted it underneath. As you can see, that one's at the corners, mounting spots for the AMD thing. So let's just take this water block out of there, get it out of the way. Let's see. You basically have to, let me show you. I'm just gonna this metal bracket's kind of wedged in between the plexiglass. I'm just gonna push it through. See that? I made it small so it would fit nice and snug. So there you go. Push the water block through. Here's the little Intel bracket from the kit, and I chopped off the little mounting holes. Let me open up this kit and I'll show you. These are the two stock mounting brackets. At the corners, Intel, straight, AMD. So what I did was I took that bracket and I just chopped off the mounting holes to make so it wouldn't overlap the plexiglass. And then I took this one and I basically chopped it here and here, and then used this little bracket and those metal things to mount it underneath the plexiglass, which is this piece right here. There's the water block. I threaded it back through here just so I can show you this bracket, because this is really what the main thing is. So the light's poor, but it's kind of hard to explain what I did. But these mounting holes right here, the holes were really easy. The pattern I kind of made up as I went. You know, I cut out this to hold the water block, and then just copied these holes to the old Dell shroud so they'd line up. And then there's the little AMD part, and I just used those holes and screwed in those little screws, and then I kind of grinded them off on the front and covered the whole thing with vinyl. So it's kind of crazy, but it worked really good, especially this little part so I could get that graphics card. I hot glued some little washers underneath just to get the height correct. You know, I needed to pull it up a little bit so I could screw it in properly. And it's just green plexiglass, and that's what I had laying around. And so I put this carbon fiber on it. And as you can see, this is the problem I had with this design, is that I actually cracked it right across there. You can kind of see a little bit of a crack. But it didn't crack all the way through, mainly because of this metal bracket kind of reinforced it and stopped it from cracking. So, to make a long story short, I used the stock fan shroud and everything, cut it open here and over here to fit the radiator and all that stuff, and then it just kind of popped back into its stock place. I used the stock fan so I could plug it in with no issues. Let's get this little USB cord out of the way. And then it was basically like this. You got this hole, this hole, this hole, and that hole. And I basically just lined them up. See that? And there's the bracket. It's a little ghetto rigged, but it was working good, and I really didn't have any problems with it. So there you have it. That's the key right there, is this little plexiglass deal. Oh, and that's another thing, is let me show you these screws, the fan screws, the mounting screws, basically just went directly into these holes, the standoff holes, and they're almost the perfect height. I only had to put those little washer shims to make it stand off a little bit more, and those held the whole thing in place. So there you have it. Anyways, if you guys got any questions, go ahead and ask in the comments. Thanks.